Meet The Lot, native token of Lukki Exchange and the most potential tool for investing this year. Trade now on P2B, B2B and Lukki.io.
So, the go-to guy for some of the wealthiest entrepreneurs. But you're also an entrepreneur, Charlie, right?
Yes.
Well, let me ask you, I want to get kind of up close and personal. That's the great thing about events like this. Let me ask you, Charlie, what were some of the struggles as a young man? And how old are you, by the way?
29.
29 years old, ladies and gentlemen.
Turned 30 in a few months.
29 years You know, when I think about that, at 29, think about this. I don't know about you, but I've recreated my life on numerous occasions. How many of you have done that? You know, you had to restart your life. And but at 29 years old, this guy's been through a few things too. So tell us about some of your struggles growing up and being an entrepreneur.
So I grew up in Brooklyn, which was a great place to grow up because you learn how to figure out what's bullshit and what's not. You know, people on the street telling you different things, and it's just a great place to grow up in New York. And so I really enjoyed that. But with crypto, you're now dealing with and working with people from all over the world. And so there's this barrier that you have to break through. And you learn some great lessons, good and bad. But at the end of the day, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. It's some of the best memories I've made, some of the best friends that I've made, my wife, I've made through the crypto space. It's my whole life, it's my legacy.
Amen. All right. Thank you, Charlie. All right, so let me try and get this straight. So we had, back in 2008, 2009, 2010, we had the housing bubble, okay, that burst. I know how many of you suffered the consequences of that. We had the entire banking industry just about collapsed during those times. And you know, the reality is that one single person went to jail over that?
No one did.
No one did. So Charlie, what does it feel like, okay, as a young entrepreneur, to be the fall guy because of the revolution that you helped start?
It's interesting because I've had dinners like these, and I've had one time the wife of a friend of mine. She's a judge in Illinois, and she sat next to me. She's like, "I have to tell you, like I can't believe what happened to you. I would have never done that." And I said, "Thank you. Can you write a letter to my judge?" But you know, I don't look at it as a negative. Serving 18 months, I don't look at it as a negative thing. I learned a lot about who I was because before I went in, I was this young kid who would walk around like his shit didn't stink, and it's okay when you're in your 20s, you know, because you learn these life lessons. But it's an important lesson to learn. I'm happy that I learned it the hardest way possible. That humility training, you know, being humble and listening to people, and I'm still not 100%, nowhere near perfect. I have my issues like everyone else does. But going through some of that was really important. And so I liked the lessons that I learned, and I liked the people that I met. And crypto was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Awesome.
Yeah. Good.
So, a Bitcoin pioneer that blazed the trails and cleared the path for all of us, that's each and every one of us here today, and really, you and a select few other people created an unstoppable revolution in the financial world. And for that, we who have eyes to see and ears to hear appreciate that so very much, Charlie Shrem. And we just want to thank you personally for that.
Thank you. I mean, so to set the stage, you know, it was 2008. We all have been, we're going through it. I was just graduating college, and well, I was in the middle of college, and I was starting the job market. I was looking to what am I going to do? And I remember I'm here now, fresh out of college, any experience, or not fresh out, but I'm in my junior year of college, starting to look for internships and jobs. And I had family members losing their jobs. People that one day were making hundreds of thousands of dollars, and the next day, nothing. And so now here I'm sitting, I'm like, what am I going to do? Because these are people that have experience, you know, dozens of years. And that was a really scary thought. And I wanted to understand what was really going on. And so I spent a lot of time reading online and reading in books and trying to understand. And from what I learned was that you had a few people that were basically manipulating, and we all got screwed over some really bad decisions. So some really bad decisions were made by a few higher ups in some banks and some lending houses, and they decided to take all these risks. And because of their mistakes, we all dealt with it. we all dealt with, I say we at the time, not me but my family, dealt with all of the issues. All of you guys went to restart. And I thought that wasn't fair. Why should the mistakes of a few have to be, all the many have to be punished for it? And around the same time, Satoshi announced the white paper. And so when I had read that, and I understood that money was what was the biggest issue at the time, I understood that this Bitcoin thing could potentially remove the ability for a few stupid people to screw us all over and allow a much more fairer and sound money. And that's why I fell in love with Bitcoin at the perfect time.
Awesome. Charlie, the Bible contains many explicit references to the shofar. Can I have that back there, please?
You have one?
No, they're right there.
Oh. I could blow it.
Can you?
Yeah.
Can you really?
Yeah, I can. That was great.
This is a gift for you.
You got me a shofar?
Yes, I did.
Thank you.
I want to read this. Read this story, Charlie.
Hold on. It's been a few years.
It's not easy.
Wait, I'll get it. I'll get it. It's right there.
It's not easy, trust me.
It's been many, many years. It's hard. There's a way to do it. You have to.
Yeah,
There's a
it's
certain
hard.
amount of air, but also at the same time, a certain amount of.
Show us later.
Yeah. One more track. That's how you want to start.
I used to have a small one, you know.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. Thank you. This is great. I'll learn to bring it back. I promise. It's made out of a ram's horn.
Yes, it is. So the Bible contains many explicit references to the shofar, Charlie, and not just the Rosh Hashanah commandment where it's used 4 times during those occasions, but also when the people received the 10 commandments from God on Mount Sinai, they heard a very loud blast of the shofar. We're commanded to blow the shofar not only on Rosh Hashanah at the end of the fast, but also at the beginning of the year of Jubilee. And that's why I pray that God gives us ears to hear and eyes to see, because I believe something real special is taking place.
Isn't that interesting how in the Bible it talks about how you have to have 7 years of good harvest,
Yep.
and then you have 7 years of bad. You have to save for it. And then you have at the end of the 7 years you have the year where you donate all of your crops. It's kind of like the bull and bear markets in a way, right? Like prepare during the bull markets, you're gonna have the bear markets. It's very interesting how that all works out.
Awesome. So, shofars were also blown by warriors in battle and by musicians in the temple. May this gift always remind you, Charlie,
Thank you.
of the battles you have fought within and of the great appreciation of us true Bitcoiners for having never surrendered as a warrior and making this revolution possible. Thank you. That came from a dear friend of mine. His name's Moshe in Israel, who was my tour guide in Israel. And him and I had a bond that was really special. And matter of fact, he flew to the United States and stayed with me at my house. And it chokes me up thinking about it. But you've inspired me so much, Charlie. And I'm an entrepreneur through and through. And my son will tell you, Austin, great man, Austin. Entrepreneurs are special people. And they're risk takers, and they're movers and shakers, and they're gallant, you know, and that's who Charlie is. And you know, when I saw his video and realized what he went through at 19 years old, it hit home. And that video, by the way, can be found on the TradeLife.com under the Founders tab. Go to TradeLife.com on the Founders tab, and you'll see his video and the story about what happened to him. So it's a special story that you have, Charlie, and I wanted to make sure that you do that. We appreciate it. Listen, when I tell you that we're here today talking about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, it's because of this guy right here and a few other select people.
Too much credit, thank you.
No, but it's true. Okay, so give it up to one more time for Charlie. So, Charlie, besides the fact that they're making a real big stink right now on Twitter because you wore flip-flops with Anderson Cooper.
I wear flip-flops everywhere. I live in Florida.
And tell Tom why you can wear flip-flops.
Because I wear flip-flops as a reminder that I can. And if I do something stupid and have to go back to where I can't wear flip-flops anymore, then I'll have made a mistake. So it's like every day I put on my flip-flops, no matter what business meeting I have or work I have to do. And I walk in there with the confidence, knowing that they're going to look at it, but they're going to say, wow, he's so confident he can. And I can, because I want to. And,
That's awesome, Charlie. That's so awesome.
but if I do something stupid, or if I don't continue to work hard every single day and hustle, there's no breaks, you know, then I'll have to go back to a job where I have to wear a suit and tie. Not like yours is beautiful though. And I have to go
I got some nice flip-flops, good.
Well, we all live here in Florida. So it's
Amen.
3 hours
So,
away.
so let me ask you, let's get down to some technology
Sure.
now, Charlie. What is blockchain?
Blockchain is very simply a chain of blocks. If you look at it like an accounting system, and the beauty of blockchain technology is it can be used with any single industry, not just money. I feel like Satoshi had originally, when he launched blockchain technology, he used it for Bitcoin for money because it was the most basic concept for us to understand how to utilize this. But really, it can be for any industry. But what it allows for, this technology that he solved, was he allowed for the ability to have a system of ledger or accounting or transferring data where we can all transfer that data, we can all share it with each other, but no single one person can manipulate that data, can reverse it, can freeze it, can change it without the permission of everyone using the whole network. What that means is, I like to use this example of bananas. You buy bananas in a grocery store. You don't know where they came from. These bananas could have been in 15 different warehouses before you eat them. These bananas have been in, could have been through, you know, sitting on a cargo ship for weeks at a time. You just don't know. The clothes that you buy, anything that we own, you know, even the coffee. How do we know that slave labor is not being used in the farms and the fields where they make everything, right? In the sweatshops. You just don't know. So with blockchain technology, a simple idea of adding a QR code and having the register of every single location where this product that you're buying stops through. And I'm purposely not using money right now because I want everyone to understand how this technology is more important than just money. It's for everything. Wherever this product stops on the way, it gets logged. And only the person who's actually logging it has the permission to add it to this ledger. And no one could, down the road, change that or manipulate that or delete that. And so therefore you know that if you're eating this banana and you scan the QR code on your phone or you look into where this banana came from, you can check exactly its whole course, and knowing that as you're eating this banana, I like bananas, as you're eating it, you know that at no point someone who has a financial incentive to lie to us, like maybe there's a company that wants to say these are fresh, but they're really 3 weeks old. They didn't have the ability to actually forge that data. That's how it applies to other industries. But with money, it creates a whole value system of the ability to send currency or money or value. I don't like to use a specific word because we all have the stigma of like the word money or we think of dollars. But the ability to send value from one person to another all around the world without having that ledger manipulated. So at the end of the day, it literally is, imagine a notebook. Imagine if all of us right here had a little notebook on us. So we all have this little notebook and we're all sitting here, and imagine if we're all transacting with each other. Imagine if we were sitting here and one person was wanting to send value to another person. So I'm going to debit from Scott's account and credit Courtney's account. And then at the same time, Courtney's crediting my account and I'm sending value to Austin, your son. And imagine if we're all sending value to each other. And we all have this little notebook. And as we're doing it, we're writing down in plus 10, minus 10 in a little notebook. And imagine instead of us having to actually do all this constant stuff and it's all not being updated, imagine if our notebooks magically updated each other in real time. Now, how can you do this? It's very simple. You have one ledger, and there's one, and then that one ledger basically tells all the other little notebooks what to say and what to do. No, that's not the right way, because that one ledger, that centralized ledger, all of a sudden has the ability to lie and cheat and to change and to manipulate, reverse, freeze. So what Satoshi solved was he figured out a way for all of our little notebooks to talk to each other without having a central notebook telling all the other notebooks what to do. That's what Satoshi solved. And that's why it's so important.
Okay, so, good stuff. I told you you're going to get an education here, and boy, we're getting it. Thank you, Charlie. So, in its simplest terms, what is Bitcoin and what is cryptocurrency?
Bitcoin is two things. And whenever you see it written about, you can kind of tell if there's a capital B or a lowercase b. Satoshi, when he launched the white paper, the capital B is the payment system. So this system of sending, go back to our little notebook situation that we're just talking about, the system of the technology that enables all of our notebooks to talk to each other, that's uppercase Bitcoin. And we need to send each other something. We need it can't be dollars, it's gotta be its own currency. That's Bitcoin with a lowercase b.
So, but what is Bitcoin? So those that are here today, and they start to get in about the blockchain and that stuff, but what is Bitcoin? What is cryptocurrency?
Bitcoin and cryptocurrency are one of the most beautiful things in the world. It is a censorship-resistant value transfer system that enables people, doesn't matter who you are, the color of your skin, your race, your sex, your religion, it allows you to enter into this financial and credit system and do business with, and trade with, and create accounts with people all over the world without having a centralized government, a centralized corporation, basically printing more money, making ours worth less, and having this free, unmanipulatable currency system. That's what Bitcoin is.
Beautiful. It's amazing technology. So, what are some of the latest improvements? Because you're in this space every day. I'll tell you what. If you get a chance, check out Charlie, what he's doing. Again, you can do that through the Trade Life or Crypto IQ, but he's doing some amazing things in this space. But what are some of the latest improvements in Bitcoin, and what impact is it having on the use and adoption of it?
There's some really cool things going on. First of all, there are a lot of when I got involved in Bitcoin, it was so difficult. You couldn't buy it anywhere. In fact, someone just reminded me of a tweet I sent in June 2011, where I said, "Does anyone know where I can buy some Bitcoin?" Obviously, no one had answered the tweet because no one knew where to buy Bitcoin back then. There was nowhere to buy. So, on the user side, the ability to buy Bitcoin, buy any cryptocurrency, trade it, send it, is becoming so easy. To spend it is becoming so easy. They just announced a partnership where you can now spend your Bitcoin at Starbucks, at all these locations, Microsoft, Dell, AT&T. The problem is no one wants to spend their Bitcoin. Everyone wants to buy it.
How many want to spend their Bitcoin here? Nobody.
And that's something that kind of Satoshi saw was going to happen. Eventually, the price of Bitcoin was going to continue to go up, and people would not want to spend it. Therefore, it'll make the price go even further because people don't want to sell it. So, but eventually, we'll reach like an equilibrium where things will kind of level itself out. Way down the road. This is still the super early days. This is like this thing is only like 9 years old, 8 years. It's so early. I mean, you're gonna see crazy price swings and craziness go on for another 2-3 decades. So, what was your question? I go off on a tangent.
No, what were some of the improvements?
Oh, improvements. I apologize. So with Bitcoin, going back to, and I'm happy you asked me that other question first. Going back to our notebooks. Imagine instead of us 40 of us sitting here, imagine we had 4 million people sitting here. It confuses even myself, but sometimes the network cannot handle the capacity or the load because so many people are trying to use it, but there aren't enough mining power, the network as a whole, to process all these transactions as fast as we want it to happen. And so, what some of the improvements that's happening are things like, for example, the Lightning Network. The Lightning Network it allows people to set up what's called payment channels. Going back to the notebook equation, imagine if Jordan and I are doing business together every single day. Since we're doing business every single day, there's no reason for us to have our transactions on the network as a whole. There's no reason for your notebook to be constantly writing our transactions every day that they're happening. Instead, your notebook can settle it once a week. So it therefore reduces the load on the whole network. That's what a Lightning Network is. It's called payment channels.
And you can tell if you're in the space and you're trading or moving Bitcoin around, you can tell there's been a big improvement in it.
It's gotten a lot faster, and
yes.
Better, cheaper too.
Can you talk briefly about a few of the altcoins and their specific use and why you believe they'll be sticking around for a while?
Sure. So altcoins are kind of like the sandboxes for Bitcoin. That's something that I've always believed where it allows Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is 50% the code and the technology. The other 50% is us as people. So I always like to say that Bitcoin is one of the largest socioeconomic experiments the world has ever seen. And it really is, because money, as we all know it, we're born and raised with money, has always been known to us as something that the government puts out. The government puts out a currency, and this is what we believe, is what we're born to believe, it's in our brains. So all of a sudden we have this new form of money that millions of people around the world are using, there's value, and are transacting with. So that's an experiment in and of itself. How do we act? How do we react? How do we hold, the concept of the price going up because not a lot of people want to sell or spend? That's part of the experiment. It's all experimentation. It's hypothesis. It's creating theses around it. And so because Bitcoin is this huge experiment, there are a lot of people who want to branch off and create their own mini experiments within the crypto ecosystem. And that's where you have things like Ethereum. So Ethereum was launched because Vitalik Buterin, who's the founder of Ethereum, you guys have all heard of Ethereum, he actually wanted to put Ethereum on the Bitcoin blockchain. He didn't even want to have his own blockchain. But a lot of the Bitcoin people didn't want that because the early Bitcoin people were of the belief that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If we add all this new code to Bitcoin, we're creating potential problems that could break it down the road. And Bitcoin works, but they don't want it to change because they don't want potential breakage. The concept of Ethereum was Vitalik said, hey, cryptocurrency is great with the notebooks, but how cool would it be if we could have like automated notebooks? I'll give you an example. Vitalik said, how cool would it be where you send money to this account that's not controlled by anyone, it's a smart contract, it's not owned or controlled by anyone, it's just an account number. And you send money to this account, and if your flight gets delayed or canceled, the account will send you back your money that an insurance premium or whatever it is. So basically flight insurance. Flight insurance, for those who've ever had to use flight insurance, you buy flight insurance, and then your flight gets canceled for whatever reason, or you can't make your flight for medical purposes, now you're on the phone fighting with the company for 6 weeks to get that money back that you're never going to get back. It's same thing with any insurance. No offense to the insurance guy here, I apologize. But imagine if insurance could be completely on a blockchain, completely smart, without control by any person that could try to finagle or bagel, you know what I mean? So that's what Vitalik wanted, and that's where you have Ethereum. Okay, so congratulations, you guys have been through a bear market. It's not easy, it's very stressful, because the price goes from like 20,000 and then just slowly drips down for over a year. And you have everyone under the sun calling up and saying, I told you so, going into this crypto stupid thing. But now you guys have weathered that storm. I firmly believe that we may not be out of the full woods yet, but we've already gone through like some heavy bear market situations where the price is really low for a while. And so at this point, I don't know if we're gonna go to 20,000 tomorrow, but we're definitely on the up and up at this point.
Awesome. We've seen a real rise in Bitcoin here lately, and it's looking solid. We're excited about it. But one of the things that Charlie and the markets that you and your team at Crypto IQ do very, very well is you trade cryptocurrency in day trading with margin trading. And why don't you just talk a little bit about that and about your fabulous team of traders that you got?
So everyone thinks that you make money when the price is going up, right? Actually, we've done better for our members when the price has been going down because we're shorting at the right times. We're catching the bounce backs or preventing dead cat bounces, and we're allowing people to trade when, like my wife was saying, when there's blood on the streets. And our members have been able to make money on the way down and accumulate Bitcoin at very low prices. Or even now at $9,000, they're up 3x.
Good stuff. Good stuff. How many of you are learning something here tonight? All right, give it up for Charlie. Give it up. So at Crypto IQ and in your daily life that you and Courtney and everybody at IQ, and I can't even imagine what you've got going on all the time, what is it that you are most passionate about?
So actually recently I launched a new podcast called Untold Stories, where I talk about some cool stories of what happened in the crypto space. You can check out the podcast at untoldstories.com. In the early days of crypto. Okay. So I've been really excited about that because I've been focusing a lot on that lately. But I gotta be honest, I'm just very happy and really, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm just like impressed by all the people that have stuck around during the past year, the past bear market, because there's always that fear that people will leave. New people are always worried that it's just the end of crypto, that I get scammed into something stupid, and then it's over. And so I've been through like 7 or 8 of these bull and bear market. So and I'm not going anywhere. So the fact that we're going through it now and people have stuck around, and it makes me really happy. So thank you everyone for staying.
Okay, so you're a visionary, and I know we talked about the next 2, 3, 5 years, but what do you see happening in the financial world in the next 10, 20 to 25 years?
In 10, 20 years, we won't be talking about blockchain as with much passion as people were talking about the internet with such passion in the early days, and now it's like the internet is just a thing. It's not really like, no one really goes to meetup groups anymore at the Lighthouse talking, oh, the internet is amazing, you know? Because it is. I feel like blockchain and Bitcoin is going to be the same thing. All cryptocurrencies are going to be that same way 10, 20 years from now. It's just going to be a thing that kids are born with, and they're like, oh yeah, Bitcoin, of course. They will not fathom its non-existence because it'll just be here.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to actually open this up to the audience for a few questions, okay? And Gary's going to come around. So this may be your only chance to ask Charlie Shrem, who at one time controlled, really, his Bit Exchange controlled about 30 to 35% of the world's Bitcoin. Now is your chance to ask Charlie something about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency or blockchain that you'd like to have answered.
Can you talk a little bit about the halving that's coming up?
Hold on 1 second. Go ahead, Gary.
Well, she asked about the halving coming up.
Okay.
It's a great question. So what happens is with Bitcoin is every 4 years or so, the amount of new Bitcoin that comes into circulation halves. So right now, it's 12.5 Bitcoin per block, which is about every 10 minutes. And so that's going to have, I think, 2020, right? Sometime in 2020. What happens is Satoshi built Bitcoin to continue to appreciate, obviously not in these crazy swings that we've seen, but Bitcoin has to continue to appreciate over time or it'll die completely. And Satoshi did that, the halving every 4 years for a number of reasons. One of them being that basically it costs miners money to mine Bitcoin, and they get paid in 12.5 Bitcoins plus transaction fees every 10 minutes. That's what they get paid for. That's what they get paid with. So basically every 4 years their paycheck is cutting in half. Satoshi needed to make sure to incentivize the market in general, again, it's going back to the experiment, that basically every 4 years the Bitcoin price has to be double what it was 4 years ago. And that's what it kind of ensures to happen. If not, then this whole thing will just go away.
How many of you heard what he just said?
Digital gold.
Yeah, digital gold. I mean, I hope you really heard that. That the price of Bitcoin has to do what?
It has to double every 4 years.
It brings joy. Okay. For those of us that see, those of us that hear, it brings great joy.
So far, 10 years, it's
done
you know,
exactly
it's not still here.
Break for 3.5 years.
What?
Break for 3.5 years.
Yeah, it's literally what we all do for we pray.
All right, who's next?
Are you the real Satoshi
I'm nowhere near smart enough to be Satoshi. Satoshi had to have the foresight to not only find a problem that needed to be solved, he solved something called the Byzantine generals problem. The Byzantine generals problem has been around for hundreds, if not thousands of years. It's a problem that famous mathematicians have not been able to solve. And basically the problem is, how do you incentivize all these parties that hate each other to work together for the common good? And the Byzantine general came from in a time of the Byzantium, the time of the Byzantines. You'd have all these generals that hated each other, and they all had an incentive for each general that represented a nation had an incentive for all the other generals and their nations to go away completely because they want to be the number one. But there was 12 generals, I think, and 12 nations. And there was one nation that was a threat to all of them. They all agreed that they wanted to get rid of. So all 12 generals agreed that at the exact same time they were going to surround the city, and they figured out that the only way they could conquer this city and defeat this other rogue nation for the common good was if all 12 of them attacked at the exact same moment. So now each general has two incentives now. He has either, if they all attack together, then that 13 nation, that 13th rogue nation, will disappear completely, which would be great for them. But if one or two of the generals stay back, and not only will that 13th nation fall completely, but all the other generals will die in the process. So you understand there's like that, which one would you rather? So now there's like, I don't trust you, I don't trust you. They don't trust each other. But they all have a common goal to trust each other, but they don't trust each other. So what Satoshi figured out was, what was happening in this problem was imagine if we were all surrounding a nation together, me, Scott, we're all surrounding a nation, the nation's here at this table. I tell Scott 2 p.m. and I sign a letter and give it to Scott. Scott then takes the letter, and he could eventually change it to say 3 p.m., pass it on to the next guy. But the next general will have no way of knowing if Scott lied and what I said. There's no accountability. So Satoshi figured out, with blockchain technology, is what if we have a chain of blocks, a chain? So I write 2 p.m., then Scott writes 2 p.m., and then basically, our signatures together, when I sign it, he signs it, the third person has the ability to verify that signature. Whereas if Scott tried to change it, the signature would break. And therefore, the chain will break at some point in the past. So by the time we get to number 7, all the other 6 people, if any one of those first 6 and that 7 try to change the time, that 7th person will know that the chain was broken at any point in time. That's what Satoshi figured out. And that's why it's so important.
I
know, it's complicated.
No, that's great. Give it up for him. Listen, I studied that, and the crazy thing is, I understand what he's saying. I mean, 2 years ago, you wouldn't put an app on my phone, okay? My kids are always telling me, hey, Dad, you got to put this app on, or you got to try this, you got to do that. Don't touch my phone. I use that for work. I don't want any apps on my phone. And now I'm understanding what he's saying right now. It's pretty scary stuff, but excellent stuff. If you are the smartest person in the room, you are in the wrong room. And I'm most definitely in the right room here today. How many of you agree with that?
I'm lucky we have some cardiologists and everything. So
I'm with you there. Go ahead. All right.
Charlie, thank you for coming here. Very much appreciated, sir. 2 questions. One's a little weird. First one, can you see, or what would be the 2 or 3...
Hold the microphone a little bit closer.
What would be the 2 or 3 incidents that would bring on mass adoption? That's the first question. And the second is, do you ever see the central banks of the world going away? Is Bitcoin taking place?
So the central banks of the world going away? No. I think that the idea that Bitcoin will replace central banks is not really realistic, but I think more realistically, Bitcoin will act as an alternative for us to have in case our governments and central banks decide to start acting dishonestly. And the fact that there is this global financial system for us to use in case these banks decide to start acting stupid again will keep them in check. And they know about Bitcoin. They know. And so, your first question was some of the incidents. Honestly, we're going through it now. We're sitting here at a very nice restaurant in Fort Myers, Florida, talking about cryptocurrency. If that's not mass adoption, I don't know what else is.
All right. So, talking about mass adoption, right now we've got some major financial institutions entering in this market space. We got VAC, we got Fidelity Investments, we got Goldman Sachs, we've got JP Morgan, we got Facebook getting their own global coin, which is a type of cryptocurrency, so to speak. So we've got right now. Just think about that. If Facebook alone, when that word gets out there, we got 2.6 billion Facebook users.
It legitimizes crypto.
It does. It really does. It legitimizes cryptocurrency. And guess what? You talk about a need. You talk about a market that has a need right now to be filled. And that's what we want to do here at the Trade Life. And that's why we brought Charlie here. There's a great need out here in this space for education right now. And it's only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So, that's what we do at the Trade Life. Is our mission is to educate and assist individuals and businesses getting into cryptocurrency. And then with Charlie and Crypto IQ, we're able not only, once you get into space, but now to be able to teach you and me how to leverage our money, how to increase our profitability, how to position ourselves. Success in the life of a man or a woman is that they're ready for their time when it comes. And by learning this technology, by hearing from the experts in the field, by getting even great trade signals from some of the best traders in the world. We're able to put ourselves in that position to be blessed. So that's what's really exciting about what's taking place here today, and why we're glad that we met Charlie. And Charlie, Brian will tell you when we first met you.
Miami.
Yeah, in Miami. But I heard of Charlie. Brian brought Charlie up to me, and I said, "We're going to meet Charlie. We're gonna go talk to Charlie Shrem." And we did. We hunted him down, and we went found him, and we're blessed. Yeah, we're blessed to have you, Charlie. And,
Thank you.
and
Too blessed to be special.
so we're excited about that. All right, one more question.
Can they all hear us behind here?
I hope so.
With everything that's going on in the world today, and I don't have to tell everyone here, China wants to be the superpower of the world. They've stolen a lot of technology. And getting off that track, when I first looked at trade life, the thing that impressed me is they're teaching how to prevent fraud, how to protect your own investment, and stuff like that. How do you, what is your feeling about the Rogue Nation trying to steal cryptocurrency, make their own, try to devaluate Bitcoin, stuff like that?
It's definitely a real fear. Like a big fear is having a large nation trying to put a lot of mining power in the network and try to change the network around. You have a fear of rogue nations trying to buy up a ton of Bitcoin, in order to take it all for themselves, or all these fears, and I feel like it's happening. But we're very fortunate that the crypto space has been around now for almost 10 years, and it's made us very resilient to that. And there are people that will never sell. And someone said, like, why doesn't the government just print $155 trillion and therefore buy up all the Bitcoin? Very simple. Print all the money, can take up 3 days, and then buy up all the Bitcoin, and therefore no more Bitcoin. The reason they can't do that because as they're buying it up, the price is going up, and there are people that are not now wanting to sell. But it was the fear that you're talking about was a very real fear. A bunch of us had asked Satoshi in 2010, why don't we get WikiLeaks to accept Bitcoin? And Satoshi said, he's like, I don't want to keep the hornet's nest. Don't do it. Let's not let people know about us yet. Let's keep it quiet. Because he didn't want Bitcoin to get too big. It was still a baby. It still is very much a baby, but 10 years later, it's gotten to the point where there's millions of people around the world using it, and holding it, and buying it, that I don't have that fear that I even had 5 years ago of it going away.
Great question. All right, one more. We'll do one more.
I don't know if this is a question as much as it is a frustration, and maybe you can comment on it, but I feel like the United States is just really dragging their feet on IPOs and ETFs, and is this a security or is it? And I feel like they're really holding us back. We're missing the boat, and some nations are jumping on board with being able to get all these.
It's true. The lack of clarity is the
as
issue.
the whales are busy buying in the
Yeah.
background. So to me, that's one of my biggest frustrations. And I just wanted you to comment on that and just. I mean, when is the U.S. going to jump on board and see that they're holding us back?
It's twofold. So I think that it's no one person's fault. I speak to a lot of people in our government, and I mean, just the other day we were having dinner with a former congresswoman, and she loves Bitcoin, and also her husband, who's owns one of the largest banks in the south of this country, loves Bitcoin. He's super libertarian. It's not them. I think it's the lack of clarity in all regulation is the biggest issue. And because there's so lack of clarity, some of the regulators don't want to be the ones to provide clarity, because if they do and they open the doors and allow more business to happen, and something goes wrong, they're going to lose their jobs. So it's like, at one point, you want regulations because you want more clarity, you want to be able to do business. The other side, you don't. And it's like catch-22 in a way. But at the same time, some other countries are just making it so easy. Like in Malta, the prime minister said, like, welcome all Bitcoin companies. Like, that's fantastic. So a lot of people are doing is they're doing like jurisdiction shopping, where they're just finding the best jurisdiction to do whatever they want to do. Switzerland or whatever it is. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'm
Thank you so
a real. What's that?
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. I'm a real stickler for respecting people's time, and it's about 6:30 right now. So, just one more time, I want everybody to give it up for Charlie Shrem, and let me just say this.
Give it up for Scott, Brian, Cody, and all the other teams.